What is up, guys? MCMMA here. In today's video, I'm going to be reacting to UFC 322, JDM versus Makhachev. This was a card that on paper was the card of the year, I think pretty clearly, and honestly, probably one of the best pay-per-views ever on paper. And I think that the card mostly delivered outside of the two title fights. Like they were dominant performances, but like those fights were objectively not very entertaining. As for how I did on my picks, I think I went 10 for 14 total, which is pretty solid, but I did miss the two title fights, which is, that's not ideal. So, yeah, let's just get right into this breakdown. All right, first off, Islam Makhachev absolutely dominates JDM to become the welterweight champ and the 11th double champ in UFC history. Yeah, he just completely dominated JDM. JDM offered zero resistance to any of the takedown attempts from Islam. I was very impressed by Islam's takedowns out in the open mat. I said in my breakdown that that was something that he has not necessarily struggled with, but that his takedowns in the open mat are nowhere near as good as his takedowns up on the fence. But I think most of the takedowns that he landed in this fight were just in the middle of the octagon. So props to him for working on that. That was something that he had struggled with, especially against like Dustin and like Volk in the past. So he's clearly still making improvements to his game. But this was a very boring performance, objectively speaking. Like it was a dominant win for Islam. Props to him. Very impressive to do that to a champion like JDM. But it was a boring fight. I wish he would have thrown some more ground and pound. I know he was. I mean, he was looking for submissions, but like he didn't really even have any like real submission attempts. I mean, let's see. Yeah, they didn't even credit him with a single submission attempt. So I would have liked to see him open up with the ground and pound, just do a little more on the ground because fights like those, they really just fucking suck to watch. As for JDM, you got to place a lot of the blame on this one on him too. He looked horrible. Like there's really no way around it. His takedown defense was terrible. He did not seem to have any urgency getting back to his feet once he got taken down. And even on the feet, he was getting pieced up in probably the 45 seconds of the fight that played out on the feet. Islam was chewing up his lead leg with the calf kick. That was very impressive. And this was also like literally the only time in UFC history where when Rogan is like, oh, that lead leg's compromised. Those leg kicks are fucking eating him up. I mean, he was actually right in this case, but it was still annoying as fuck to hear about that for 5 rounds straight. But we know Rogan is not a great commentator at this point, so that's besides the point. But yeah, horrible performance from JDM. I don't know if he got like hurt or some shit during the fight because he was like wincing the whole time and it looked like he was about to start crying, but really, really bad from JDM. Bad pick by me, obviously, since I picked JDM, but good for Islam. One thing I will say is I do not want to see Islam fight Ilia Topuria at 170 because I think that the exact same thing would play out because Ilia would be a midget at 170 and Islam would just be so much more physically dominant than him. So please do not make that fight happen at 170. And I don't think Islam's going to move back down to lightweight, so I doubt that fight happens at this point, which kind of sucks. But I don't want to see that at welterweight. I want to see Islam fight the contenders that are at welterweight since the division is fucking loaded right now. There's like 3 or 4 guys right who could deserve a title shot just in the division. So he needs to fight those contenders. Ilia needs to fight his own contenders in the lightweight division. I do not want to see those two fight each other right now. All right, next up, Valentina Shevchenko does pretty much the exact same thing that Islam did to JDM to Zhang Weili. Yeah, complete dominance from Valentina. Another bad pick by me. I did pick Weili. I did not realize how much smaller Weili was going to be than Shevchenko. Holy shit, she looked like a midget in there. And Valentina just dominated her all around. She was piecing her up on the feet, hitting her with a lot of good kicks. She was, I mean, she was stinging Weili whenever she tried to kind of rush in to land some shots because, I mean, Weili just doesn't have the reach to be able to like hit Valentina from distance. So, and also obviously Valentina was dominating her on the ground. Another boring fight, unfortunately, but super dominant performance from Valentina Shevchenko. I think you can make a pretty serious argument that she is the GOAT of women's MMA at this point because I think throughout her career, she has probably faced slightly tougher competition than Amanda Nunes. And I mean, they fought each other twice, and Valentina was very undersized at bantamweight, and she arguably won their second fight. So you can make a very serious argument that Shevchenko is the WMMA GOAT after this fight. But I mean, as good as she is, her fights just aren't that entertaining at this point. Like, she doesn't have much finishing ability. She hasn't gotten a finish in like 4+ years, I think. And I don't see that stopping anytime soon. I am interested to see her next fight because I think she should fight Natalia Silva. And Natalia Silva looked really fast on the feet against Alexa Grasso. So if this is a big if Silva is able to defend the wrestling of Shevchenko, I think that could be a very interesting fight. But yeah, I mean, dominant performance, like I said, from Valentina, but not a very fun fight. I think Weili is going to move down to strawweight after this one. I think she knows that she's just not big enough to fight at flyweight. But I don't think that's going to happen for a little bit. We know she has a tendency to be pretty inactive. Even while she was champ, she was only fighting like once a year. And she said she didn't like really commit to anything in her post-fight interview. She said she's going to have to take a break. So it could be a little while before we see her back, but hopefully we see her back against whoever the strawweight champ is at that point. Probably going to be Mackenzie Dern. And I mean, like Weili's the best strawweight in the world. I think she would beat Dern. I think she would beat anybody else who could have the belt. So hopefully we see her back at strawweight soon. All right, on to the good fights. Holy shit, what a performance from Michael Morales. Absolutely dominates Sean Brady. I mean, this dude Morales, I said he was an athletic freak in my like predictions video. I didn't realize how much of a freak he actually is. Holy shit. He might genuinely be the best athlete in UFC history. Like, no exaggeration. He is an insane athlete. This dude, like, he wasn't even like throwing with good technique. This dude was just fucking throwing bombs at Sean Brady. And Brady could literally do nothing about it. And Sean Brady is an elite fighter. We know this. We saw what he did to Leon Edwards. We saw what he did to Gilbert Burns. And Morales, just absolutely zero respect for him. Fucking walked him down, hit him with some huge shots, got the first round knockout. I did really like his stance in this one. He had like his hips, he was like kind of squatting pretty low. He had his hips way back so Brady couldn't reach the takedown. And at this point, I think Morales should be next in line for the welterweight belt. Dana did say that this fight was a number one contender fight, and I know Prates also got a huge knockout, but Morales beat a better opponent in the same fashion. And I honestly think Michael Morales is the only guy who could potentially beat Islam Makhachev. I'm not saying he would, but with his athleticism, with his takedown defense, with the power that he has, I think that he has a chance to beat Islam. And I mean, that's really the best you can ask for at this point, because if you let Islam fight Carlos Prates, he would maul him on the ground like he did to JDM. If you let, I mean, God forbid. I mean, I know Islam's been calling for Kamaru Usman next. There's no fucking way that should happen. That would be an absolute disgrace. Kamaru is literally 1-3 in his last 4 fights, and his only win is against fucking Joaquin Buckley. And he just wants to farm easy title defenses, especially against a guy like Usman, because that would be a good name for his legacy. But Islam should fight Michael Morales next. I would love to see that fight, and I think that it could be pretty interesting. As for Sean Brady, tough loss for him, but I've got a ton of respect for the guy. We knew this was a really dangerous fight for him to take, and unfortunately, the risk of losing ended up being what happened. But I think Brady will be back. I mean, he's still a super strong grappler, and I mean, Morales, like I said, he's a fucking athletic freak. Like, there's really not much you can do. I think that Brady still beats a lot of the other top contenders, so he will definitely be back. Again, respect to him for taking this fight. And Michael Morales, I mean, he should be next for the belt. And even if he doesn't beat Islam, this is a dude who I think will absolutely be champion at some point. Yeah, I mean, I was absolutely like blown away by this performance. I really didn't realize that he was this good. I mean, I know I picked him to beat Brady, but I didn't realize that he was going to make it look that easy. I thought Brady was going to take him down a couple times. I thought Morales was going to have to kind of bite down on his mouthpiece, struggle with the grappling of Brady for a little bit. But I mean, he made that look so easy, and I think that he needs to be the one fighting Islam Makhachev next. All right, next up, my boy Carlos Prates gets the knockout over Leon Edwards. In the first round, Leon did take him down a couple times. Didn't really land much. I I thought that Prates won the first round since he was the only one who actually landed impactful shots, but I think most people probably did score that one for Leon, but it didn't end up mattering. In the second round, Leon didn't immediately shoot a takedown, and he gave Carlos enough time to get comfortable in the feet, find his range, and hits him with an absolute rocket of a left hand. Not even like a huge like hook or anything. It was just a left straight down the middle. Bam! Fucking put Leon out cold. I mean, this dude's eyes were rolled to the back of his head. He was fucking smiling too, which was kind of, I mean, that was kind of scary to see, but huge win for Carlos Prates. I did pick him in this one, but I picked him by decision. I didn't think that he was going to be able to knock Leon out that easily, but this dude's power is something else, man. I don't even think that was like the biggest shot that he could have landed, or I don't even think that's like the biggest shot in his like tool bag, and he still put Leon out cold. And Leon's a guy who's never been knocked out, so I mean, as for what's next for Prates, like I said, I think Michael Morales should get the next title shot. So that would probably leave Prates fighting. He would definitely get like an official number one contender fight. I think a sick matchup would be Shavkat versus Carlos Prates, since those are both guys who are kind of angling for title shots right now, but I don't think are going to get them next. So please, Dana, book Shavkat versus Carlos Prates early next year. That would be such a sick fight. I mean, these dudes were rumored to fight a little while back when Shavkat was booked to fight Bilal Muhammad. They actually asked Prates to step in on short notice to fight him, but Prates had gotten injured in his previous fight, so he wasn't able to make the turnaround for that one. But that would be such a sick fight. I would love to see that one, and I think that it makes the most sense. As for Leon, he's in a pretty bad spot right now, just to be completely honest. 3-fight losing streak. The last 2 of those losses coming by finish, and I mean, I think it's over for him in terms of title hopes, realistically. I mean, these young contenders at welterweight are just absolute killers, and I don't think Leon is, and honestly, I don't think Leon or really any of the kind of older guard at welterweight are really going to be able to compete with these dudes. So, yeah, sucks for Leon, but I think he's probably going to be like a kind of fringe top 8, top 10 guy for the rest of his career at this point. But amazing performance from Prates. Love to see it. I mean, you guys know Carlos Prates is one of my favorite fighters, and he's got big things in the horizon for him. He's a huge star at this point because not only is he a super entertaining fighter to watch, he's also got a great personality. So I honestly wouldn't be shocked if Dana did give Carlos Prates the next title shot, just because he is a bigger, more marketable name than Michael Morales. But I mean, Carlos Prates has a very bright future, and I think he's going to be one of the top contenders in this division for a while. All right, last fight on the main card, Benoit Saint Denis puts Benny Dariush to sleep in literally 15 seconds. Holy shit. I mean, I picked Benoit to win this one by knockout, but again, I didn't think that the first shot he landed was going to put Benoit out. I think that one honestly says more about Benoit's chin than it does about Benoit's power. I mean, Benny, it's time to hang him up, dog. Like, I really hate to see it because I like Benil Dariush. He's a really cool guy. He's been like perpetually underrated throughout his whole career. He's always been a super skilled fighter, but I mean, his chin's just totally gone at this point. 3 of his last 4 fights, he's gotten knocked out pretty brutally, and even in the one that he won against Renato Moicano, he got dropped by Moicano, which, as I've said before, is literally very hard to do. Like, it's impressive that Moicano dropped Benil, because Moicano is such a low-level striker compared to most of the other ranked guys at lightweight, and he's slow as shit too. So I think Benil needs to hang him up. As for Benoit, I mean, great performance from him, but I really don't think this changes much. I think he's still fundamentally the same fighter that we saw in the Dustin Poirier and Renato Moicano losses. He's a guy who is not a very good striker, but he's always going to press. He's always going to be trying to back you down. But when you keep putting, or if you put him against high-level guys, he's going to get countered, and he's going to probably end up getting knocked out like he did against Dustin. I think the UFC gave him Benil because it was the easiest matchup in the top 10, like, for him stylistically, just because, I mean, Benny's chin is literally gone, and Benoit would kind of just be able to walk him down and land the knockout shot, which he ended up doing. I think a fight against Matheus Gamrot would make a lot of sense for Benoit next. I know that I don't know if he was calling for it. I think honestly, I think Gamrot was the one who was calling Benoit out, which was kind of weird because Benoit was ranked a good amount lower than Gamrot. But with the point that both of these dudes are at now, Benoit being on a 3-fight win streak, and Gamrot losing his last fight against a higher ranked opponent, I think that one would make a ton of sense. And like I said, for Dariush, I think he should retire at this point. I mean, if he keeps fighting, he's just going to keep fighting. Like, they're going to match him up against, like, guys hungry, like, young, hungry guys. He's probably going to start have to fighting unranked guys soon if he sticks around. And, I mean, we know unranked lightweight is just an absolute shark tank. Those dudes are, like, just looking for an opportunity to break into the top 15. So, I think Benny should hang him up. And good performance from Benoit, but I really don't think this changes much in terms of his like skill set or his title hopes. I mean, I know he was like doing like the little belt gesture after he won. Like, you're not winning the belt, bro. Let's just keep it a buck. He's probably never even going to be like a top 5 guy since I think, like I said, once he starts fighting the higher level lightweights, his style is just not going to work against them. But good performance from Benoit. Onto the prelims. Bo Nickal gets the huge head kick knockout against Rodolfo Vieira. Nickal looked really good in this one. His striking looked pretty fluid. He looked a lot more comfortable and confident on the feet. But this is another one where I really don't think this raises his stock too much because Rodolfo Vieira is a literal fucking punching bag. This is another one where the UFC gave Bo Nickal a very good matchup so they could kind of build his brand back up. And I know he looked a lot better on the feet, but I'm not going to believe it until I see him face a competent striker. That being said, though, super impressive from Bo Nickal. It was good to see his confidence back up. He looked comfortable on the feet. He looked a lot better than he did against Paul Craig, that was another one where he won that fight primarily through the striking, but he didn't look super comfortable. His striking honestly looked like shit against Paul Craig, and it looked a lot better here. So maybe he will bounce back, but I'm still not very high on Bo Nickal. I still think he's a guy who's probably never going to be a real contender at middleweight, but good bounce back for him. As for Rodolfo Vieira, I mean, this dude, like, he really just sucks. Like, he's got amazing jiu-jitsu, but that's literally it. His takedown entries are horrible, so he's not even really able to utilize that jiu-jitsu for the most part, and he can't strike, and he can't block punches. So, I mean, I don't even know if he should be in the UFC at this point, but good performance from Bo Nickal. Gregory Rodriguez, RoboCop, gets the unanimous decision victory over Roman Kopylov. RoboCop looked pretty good. I was kind of surprised that he wasn't able to get the knockout. I mean, Kopylov's chin held up pretty well. RoboCop was hitting him with some pretty big shots, and Kopylov was able to stay in it and he's able to stay in the fight and even take the third round. But I mean, I had a pretty strong feeling that RoboCop was going to win this one. He was one of the higher confidence picks that I had on this card. So I think that he should get a ranked opponent at this point. I know he lost to Jared Cannonier, but he's coming off 2 wins against really good unranked middleweights, guys who are like right on the fringe of being ranked. So I think he should get a guy in the kind of 10 to 15 range, maybe like Roman Dolidze, like Joe Pyfer maybe. That would be a pretty sick fight. 2 huge power punchers. As for Roman Kopylov, I mean, I think he's just not that good, really. Like, I don't think he's ever really going to be a guy who is a contender at middleweight. He had a lot of hype at one point, but he's proven in his last few fights that once he faces more significant competition, like against Fluffy Hernandez, Paulo Costa, Gregory Rodriguez, he's not really able to get it done. So I think he's probably just going to be unranked or at like the bottom of the rankings for most of his career. But a good win from RoboCop. I do think that like I said, like, I don't really think we learned anything new in this one. I think both of these guys look pretty similar to what they have in their last few fights, and especially RoboCop. I was kind of hoping to see some improvements cardio-wise, but I just don't think he's ever really going to be able to do that with just how huge he is for the division. So, again, RoboCop is a guy who I don't think is ever going to be a true title contender just because, like we saw, I mean, Kopylov took the third round from him, and if he starts fighting higher level competition, these are guys that aren't necessarily going to be as scared to strike with him and are going to provide more resistance on the feet. So I also don't think RoboCop is. I think his ceiling is probably like a guy who's ranked like 10 to 15, maybe like bottom of the top 10. But good performance from RoboCop. Good win for him, and I hope he gets a ranked opponent next. Erin Blanchfield dominates Tracy Cortez. Not necessarily dominates, but beats her pretty handedly. As soon as Tracy tried to engage Erin on the ground, I mean, it was kind of over. Erin was able to latch up that choke. I don't even think she had any hooks in either, but I mean, she was fucking squeezing on Tracy. I get why Tracy Cortez tapped there. Good win from Erin Blanchfield. She's definitely in contention for a title shot. I still think it should go to Natalia Silva, but there is a chance that Blanchfield gets it. I don't think that she would beat Shevchenko most likely, but she is like, I respect Erin Blanchfield. You know, she looks to actually do damage in her fights. She's trying to get finishes, which you can't say that about a ton of ranked women's fighters. So respect to her. As for Tracy Cortez, she's always been like kind of overrated generally, just because people think she's bad, and because of that, she gets a lot more attention than a lot of other female fighters. But hopefully she'll learn from this one. She's still like a top 10. She's still top 10 in the division. She still has some pretty solid wins, so she'll definitely stick around. But good win for Erin Blanchfield. This one kind of played out as I expected. I thought Erin was just better than Tracy Cortez everywhere, and she was able to prove that. Ethan Yuing gets the huge upset victory over Malcolm Wellmaker. I mean, holy shit, what a performance from Ethan Yuing. I mean, he looked really, really good in this fight. He's a guy who I think could actually be a player in the bantamweight division. I think after you see a performance like that against a prospect as hyped up as Wellmaker, I mean, you got to get Ethan Yuing going. I think he should probably get a guy on the fringe of the top 50, not necessarily a ranked opponent, but a guy who's like close. And I'm really excited to see what's next for him. He looked really, really good. This wasn't one where it was like Wellmaker didn't fight well or it was like a fluke. No, like Ethan Yuing just genuinely outclassed him everywhere in this fight. As for Wellmaker, I don't love to throw around the term fraud check, but I think this kind of was a fraud check. Yuing exposed a lot of the holes in Wellmaker's game. He's not an amazing striker. He's got a ton of pop, but he kind of reminded me of like Josh Emmett in the fights that Josh Emmett loses. Like if you guys have seen Josh Emmett's fight against Lerone Murphy, that's what Wellmaker's performance kind of reminded me of. He was getting hit a lot. Yuing landed some big shots on him, and if he was fighting a guy who had more pop, he could have maybe got finished there. And he kept throwing the same like hook, like he was throwing a ton of hooks, but he wasn't really doing too much to set it up. So I think you could call this one a fraud check, but I really like Malcolm Wellmaker. Like he's a super cool guy. He's clearly a talented fighter. So I think that this is going to be a good learning experience for him. And I'm super excited to see what's next for Ethan Yuing, though. He's like a real prospect at bantamweight. Kyle Daukaus gets the first round submission over GM3. Daukaus just walked him down, dropped him. I thought he was going to finish him with ground and pound, but he ended up locking up the dariush choke. I mean, this one also like played out about how I expected. I think GM3's done at this point. Like he doesn't have the same kind of heart that he used to. He used to really be able to like grit out a lot of wins against these guys that he was an underdog against. He would kind of get battered early on, but then he would be able to kind of pull off the late submission, thug it out. But it doesn't really seem like he's got that anymore. So I think he should probably retire. And as for Kyle Daukaus, I mean, this is probably one of the coolest stories in the UFC right now. This is a dude who got cut a few years ago, grinded his way on the regional scene. He was calling for a return to the UFC at every opportunity. They gave him a short notice fight against Michel Pereira, got the first round knockout there, beats GM3 here. So I'm excited to see what's next for Daukaus. I would like to see him face a more competent opponent than GM3. Like, no disrespect to GM3, but like I said, I think he should retire at this point. He clearly just doesn't care enough anymore. And like Michel Pereira, that is a good win on paper, but he's also a guy who has looked like absolute dog shit his last few fights. So hopefully they give Daukaus like a pretty solid unranked guy next, and I'm excited to see what's next for Daukaus. Pat Sabatini gets the decision win over Chepe Mariscal. I mean, this was a boring ass performance from Sabatini. Like, he is very dominant. He's a very dominant grappler. Like, you can't deny that. But again, like when you're in these fucking dominant positions, you have to do something. Like, you can't just fucking lay there on top of guys. Like, I genuinely think there's an argument that Chepe Mariscal won this fight because you have to give him the first round in my opinion because Pat Sabatini did absolutely nothing on the ground and Chepe blasted him in the face with a head kick at the end of the round. And in the second round, it was the same shit. Like Pat did nothing on the ground and Chepe actually landed a few strikes in like the like small moments in which he wasn't getting controlled on the ground. And ground control is cool, but if you don't land ground and pound, if you don't really attempt submissions, it doesn't mean anything. Like, it genuinely pisses me off, and I think it's a real problem in the UFC right now because guys know that if they can just control their opponents on the ground, they're going to get wins. And it's just like, I hate to see it as a fan. I think it's like, I don't want to say like unethical, but like it kind of is. It's just like, it feels like kind of cheating in a way. It's just boring as shit. Like, you have to like actually try and, the point of a fucking fight is to try and hurt your opponent more than your opponent hurts you. And if you're just controlling them on the ground without like landing ground and pound or really trying many submissions, you're not doing your fucking job. So hopefully this is something that the UFC is able to clean up because I genuinely think that there is an argument that Chepe Mariscal won this fight. But yeah, I mean, Sabatini is going to get a ranked opponent next because, I mean, these guys were both like, you could argue that they could deserve to ranked. You could have argued that they deserved a ranked opponent before this fight, but I mean, bad performance from Pat. Not bad performance, but boring performance. Like, he did well. He was able to execute his game plan, but I don't like how these dominant grapplers are able to get away with just like lying on top of their opponents and not really attempting anything offensive. But I mean, props to Pat. Like, it's not his fault. That's just kind of how it works right now with the scoring. And I mean, if I was in his position, I would be doing the same shit. You know, I mean, it's like the path of least resistance for him. So I don't blame the guy, but I think the UFC as a whole needs to do something about just stalling on the ground. All right, next up, Fatima Klein beats Angela Hill by decision. Klein looked really good. I think if she had been fighting a lot of other opponents, she would have gotten the finish here. Angela Hill is just super durable. And yeah, I mean, not too much to say here. Fatima Klein is a legit contender, I think, at strawweight. And Angela Hill, I mean, like I said, she's like the female Neil Magny. She's going to win some. She's going to lose some. She's always going to be around. So good performance from Fatima Klein. Baisangur Susurkayev gets the third round knockout over Erin mcconico. I think Baisangur is going to get fraud checked, and I think it's going to come pretty soon. This is now 2 fights in a row against low-level UFC competition, like borderline guys who shouldn't even be in the UFC, where he has genuinely struggled throughout like multiple parts of the fight. He's gotten hurt on the feet. And like mcconico, like he had Susurkayev hurt at multiple points in the fight, and he just didn't do shit about it. So I think the second that you put Baisangur against a competent middleweight, like a competent unranked middleweight who can actually strike, I think he's going to lose that fight. I'm really just not high on this guy at all. And I also really don't like his ego. Like, he's got this huge ego for absolutely no reason. Like, he hasn't impressed anybody in the UFC so far. And he's going to get fraud checked soon. Mark my words. Whenever his next fight gets booked, if it is against a like competent opponent, I'm putting the fucking house on whoever his opponent is because the odds are going to be something absolutely insane. Like, I mean, what was he in this one? He was a minus 1050 favorite, and he looked like shit. Like, the second, I genuinely considered picking Erin mcconico for the upset here because I think that little of Baisangur Susurkayev. The second you put this guy against a real opponent, he's going to lose. Mark my words, he's one of the biggest frauds I've ever seen for a guy who's getting as much hype as he does. And also, the fucking commentary was pissed me off during this fight, too. Like, Rogan and DC were acting like this dude was, like, some guaranteed future champ just because he has, like, some steam on his name. Like, I hate when they do that shit, like, try and hype up guys who, when you're literally watching the fight, you can see that they aren't all that they're made out to be, but they still do it. It was kind of how they were treating Bo Nickel before he lost to RDR, but Yeah, just really, really unimpressed with Susurkayev, and I think he's going to lose his undefeated record very soon. And last but probably least, to be honest, Matheus Camilo beats Slava Claus by decision. Uh, Another bad fight. Camilo, same shit I've been saying, just stalled on the ground, took Slava Claus down, and didn't do shit on there. So, I mean, both of these guys are probably not even UFC level fighters at this point. Kind of sucks to see for Slava Claus because he was a guy who was, even in the fights that he lost, which admittedly was most of his fights, he was still putting on great performances. He used to be a pretty entertaining striker, but he doesn't have it anymore. I honestly think both of these guys should get cut. I think Slava should have won the fight, to be honest, because he was the only one actually doing anything or trying to do anything. But they gave it to Camilo. Unimpressive performance from both of these guys, and like I said, I think they should both get cut probably. But I don't think Camilo's going to get cut off of a win, especially since he took this one on short notice, since his opponent, who he was supposed to fight a few weeks ago, pulled out I think it was like the day before. So he'll probably stick around, but I mean, I don't think anything of him. I don't think he's really got much potential in the light, especially in a division like lightweight that's super competitive. Yeah, those are my reactions to UFC 322. I mean, despite the lackluster main and co-main event, I still think this was a pretty good card overall, and especially welterweight. Such an interesting division right now. I can't wait to see how that plays out. I am going to wait to do a matchmaking video until after next week because Bilal Muhammad and Ian Gary are going to be fighting, and once that fight is done, basically everybody will have fought already. Like they're all going to be like nobody's going to be booked at that point. So after that fight, I am going to do a matchmaking video for welterweight. But yeah, I think there's a ton of different directions that you could go with the division right now, and I'm really interested to see how it plays out. As always, let me know in the comments if you agree or disagree with any of what I said. Make sure to leave a like on the vid, subscribe to the channel, and thank you for watching.